Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 10, MK Gandhi. Let us have introduction about the unit. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi 1869 to 1948, herein after Gandhiji, was undoubtedly the most authentic and celebrated representative of the wisdom and culture of India in our times. His countrymen address him with respect as the Mahatma. For many, among the greatest, Gandhiji was the great. He was a social reformer, an economist, a political philosopher, and a seeker of truth. We consider him as a Yug Purush, one who inaugurated a new era. The contribution of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi to the Indian national movement was unparalleled. He made the Indian National Congress a people's congress and the national movement a mass movement. He made people fearless and bold and taught them the non-violence method for fighting against injustice. He had a passion for individual liberty, which was closely bound with his understanding of truth and self realization. His search for truth led him to make deep forays within his own inner self, as it led him to probe into the natural and social world around him, particularly the tradition which he considered his own. Gandhiji's philosophy was a profound engagement with modernity and its pitfalls, against the evils of wanton industrialization, materialism, and selfish pursuits. Gandhiji suggested in turn Swadeshi, primacy of the self, and trusteeship against the institution of state as the force personified, and the prevalent notion of democracy where only heads are counted. He flavored a Swaraj type of democracy where everything springs from the free individual and where decisions are made bottom up with the locus of power below. He proposed a minimal state vested only with coordinative powers that supports decentralization with the autonomous individual as its base of support. A spiritual perspective infuses Gandhiji's whole approach to life. His political understanding and practices suggestions on the economy, social mobilization, and practical life have their basis in morality and ethics. Pursuit of truth is his mantra, and non-violence was integral to it. Among Gandhiji's notable writings, mention may be made of an autobiography, the story of my experiments with truth. The collective works of Mahatma Gandhi, Panchayati Raj, Satyagraha in South Africa, Sarvodaya, and Hind Swaraj. He edited Young India, which he later renamed as Harijan, which remained his mouthpiece. As is true about anyone else, Gandhiji was also influenced by many: Tolstoy, Ruskin, Thesaurus, Swami Vivekanand, Gokhale, and Tilak, just to mention a few. There is a strong stamp of his family and the Indian national movement with its cross currents on him. He was familiar with the teachings of the major religions of the world. He was exceptionally well read and even translated such works as Plato's Republic into Gujarati. He maintained extensive correspondence with some of the most outstanding figures of his time. He maintained a whipping schedule, traveling to different parts of the vast Indian subcontinent, sometimes traversing long distances on foot. Many associated themselves personally close to him, and he left his imprint on many who came into contact with him. He learnt from everyone he came across, and no significant event of his times escaped his attention. His assassination brought to a close a life of undaunted courage, resting on the call of conscience, committed to the service of his country, common welfare, and universal love. Now let us discuss philosophical foundations of Gandhiji's political perspective. Gandhiji was a deeply religious man. This perspective shaped his politics, his economic ideas, and his view of society. However, the religious approach that he imbibed was markedly different from other religious men. He wrote to Mr. Pollock, "Most religious men I have met are politicians in disguise. I, however, who wear the guise of a politician, am at heart a religious man. My bent is not political but religious." He accepts the inner oneness of all existence in the cosmic spirit and saw all living beings as representatives of the eternal divine reality. Divine presence envelops the whole world, and it makes its reflective presence felt in the men and women. Gandhiji believed that man's ultimate goal in life was self realization. Self realization, according to him, meant seeing God face to face, that is, realizing the absolute truth, or what one may say, knowing oneself. Mankind believed that it could not be achieved unless man identified himself with the whole of mankind. This necessarily involved participation in politics. Politics is means par excellence to engage with the world. Such an engagement is expressed in service. Gandhiji was clear in his mind that truth could not be attained by merely retiring to the Himalayas or being bogged down with rituals, but in actively engaging with the world, keeping oneself open to the voice of God and critically reflecting upon oneself and letting others to reflect on you. Man's ultimate aim is the realization of God, and all his activities, social, political, religious, have to be guided by the ultimate aim of the vision of God. The immediate service of all human beings becomes a necessary part of the endeavor, simply because the only way to find God is to see Him in His creation and be one with it. This can only be done by service of all. I am a part and parcel of the whole, and I cannot find Him apart from the rest of humanity. My countrymen are my nearest neighbors. They have become so helpless, so resourceless, and so inert that I must concentrate myself on serving them. If I could persuade myself that I should find him in a Himalaya cave, I would proceed there immediately. But I know that I cannot find him apart from humanity. It is only through the means of self purification that self realization can be attained. The fast, prayers, and works of service that he undertook were all directed towards such an end. In his autobiography, Gandhiji says that self realization required self purification as its ethical foundation. Man's moral life flows from such a search inward into his own self and expresses itself in outward activity of fellowship and concern to others. Gopinath Dhawan writes in this connection. This ethical outlook is the backbone of Gandhiji's political philosophy, even as his ethics has for its foundation in his metaphysical principles. To him, the moral discipline of the individuals is the most important means of social reconstruction. Gandhiji invoked the fivefold moral principles: truth, non-violence, non-stealing, non-possession, and celibacy. The observance of these moral principles would purify man and enable him to strive after self realization.